So spiritually, we have come here to be a giver to life. How many of you believe that? Truly believe that you have come here to add to life? Not to necessarily get from life, but to add to life. I believe that is one of the eternal spiritual truths of life. The unchanging energy of life. And that energy that you are here to add to life can probably be distilled down to one word, which is love, although it gets expressed in so many different forms. You express it through your gifts, through your talents, through your treasure, through what you have come here to be and to do uniquely in this world. And when we are in that flow of being a giver to life, we live in that flow of abundance. That is what our last series would call open-hearted living. And when we don't understand this truth, when we don't live into this truth, the default is our personal mind, some would call it the ego, that human part of ourselves, tends to run the show. And the only thing that it's interested in is getting the needs met of the body, getting the needs met emotionally, getting the needs met in whatever way that it has adapted to do in this human journey. And we often do it in ways that tend to shut down the heart, that tend to restrict that flow of good, to restrict the flow of God in our life by, what are the two things that we do that we learned? We resist whatever's happening. That tends to shut down the heart. Or we cling to whatever good might be present for fear that it might go away. Today, as we begin this series that we're going to be looking at over the next 4 weeks, it's entitled Keys to the Kingdom, and it is in part material that I've taken from David Owen Ritz's class. Perhaps some of you have taken that. We offered it for many years here in this ministry, but I'm also going to be incorporating other prosperity teachings. Now, a little later on, we're going to be doing a visioning process, so those of you in here should have gotten a little piece of paper and something to write with, and those of you who are watching at home, this would be a good time to go grab something that you can jot down a vision that unfolds for you as we move into that time towards the end of the service. And if you're missing one, if you just kind of raise your hand, there's somebody in the back that can come and support you in getting one of those little visioning pieces of paper. So David Owen Ritz writes this in his class. The great spiritual masters of the ages have always taught that life is naturally abundant. Lack, limitation, poverty may be facts in our material world, and the greater truth is that the universal is a flow of good and plenty. To the enlightened mind, abundance is a spiritual reality that can never be altered by human circumstances. This insight that the great teachers have had, this insight that many of us, at least at times, lack in our lives, is a deeper understanding that God is the one and only source of our good. God, this energy of divine love, is the true source of our good. All power, all potential, all intelligence, wisdom, form, energy, all of it comes from the manifestation of the one true God source. When we come to understand this, when we can begin to not only intellectually understand it, but have it live as an active part of our heart, and when we place our faith in this one source and not necessarily whatever we seem to see as a source right now for our good in the physical realm, we have the keys to unlimited abundance in our lives. You know, the name of this series was inspired out of the scripture in Luke 12 that says, and this is Jesus talking, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. We've already been given it. And Jesus is trying to help the people understand this state of natural abundance. So we've been given the gift, but how many of us have the keys in order to be able to open this gift, to embody this gift? And this gift lies in the field of infinite possibilities. Lack, limitation, disease, poverty, they all may be facts in our world and perhaps in our own lives. But the truth is that we live in an abundant world. In fact, abundance is our natural state of being. Abundance is what we are born into this world with. And we are seeking to simply get back to what has always been. It's important to understand that the facts of our lives may change over time. How many of you have seen the facts of your life change? Sometimes from moment to moment, sometimes from month to month, sometimes from year to year. You know, the facts, at least at this juncture in our evolution, is that we age. We can rail against it, we can fight against it, we can do everything we can do to keep our bodies youthful, and yet the facts are that we begin to see more wrinkles in the mirror. At least that's been true for me. The truth is that we are spiritual beings having this human experience, and we've been put into an environment that's supportive, that's loving, that is wanting to allow us to move through this from the state of our natural way of being. And yet, for many of us, the beliefs that we adapted when we were young are not in alignment with that. We may have been told, not by any fault of theirs, but probably based on what they were told, that, you know, there is a limit. You know, there is always not enough. There is this idea that we have to work really hard at, you know, whatever job we're doing and hope that we get enough to just help sustain us. Or once you get it, you know, you better hold on tight because it may not always stay. And when we talk about abundance, we're not just talking about material wealth. That's what most people go to initially. Abundance is far more than the income that we receive or the accumulated wealth that we have in the bank. Money is simply a physical form that we've chosen as one of the flows of that universal energy of abundance. But true abundance is spiritual good and human good in all its forms. And it must include, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health, if you don't have loving relationships, if you can't find a sense of inner peace, if you aren't living a life that you've come in your heart with purpose and passion, you won't feel that state of God's abundant flow in your life. So in short, true abundance is the power to satisfy our needs, and it's not either, but it's the power to satisfy our needs and add to life, to be a force for good, to be a force for God, to be an expression of God in our world. A life that reflects true abundance is a life spent pursuing a greater awareness of God and of self as a spiritual being. When we seek first the kingdom of heaven, this is what he means. When we are willing to take at least some of our focus and allow it to be what continues to grow us, what continues to bring us back into that flow of abundance, then everything else will unfold, will be there, will support us. The pursuit of money and possessions for their sake alone will not lead us to a greater understanding of these truths. On the contrary, the more that we seek to share, this is the paradoxical, the more that we seek to be a giver to life, the more that seems to flow back through us. The more that we learn to trust life, the more that life seems to be trustworthy. The more that we learn to love ourselves, the greater the flow of love moves in and through our life. It calls us, and it's not an easy thing to do, to release those unhealthy attachments to material things. To release those unhealthy attachments that says, this is the only channel that my good can flow to me. And the more we do that, the greater spiritual freedom, the greater flow of good moves through our lives. It almost seems counterintuitive from our human understanding. If we're looking at this from just a human perspective, we go, no, that's not the way the world operates. If I just am this giver to life, people are just going to suck it all up and take it from me because they're all trying to get what they need. But yet, when we practice this, if we allow ourselves to experiment with this, and that's what we're going to be doing over the next 30 days, the more that we add, the more that is added to our own lives. Jesus tried to help the people of his time understand this. And one of the greatest prosperity teachings, again, comes out of Luke 12. And I'm going to share with you the longer version of this. And this is out of the Message Bible, which is more in current vernacular, if you will. While Jesus was speaking to his disciples, he was speaking to people just like us. He was speaking to humanity, people who worry, people who struggle, people who may be feeling like they don't have sufficient needs to meet their day-to-day needs. How are they going to get the bill paid? How are they going to find love? How are they going to get through life? And this is what he told them. He says, don't fuss about what's on the table at mealtimes, or if the clothes in your closet are in fashion. There's far more to your inner life than the food that you put in your stomach, more to your outer appearance than the clothes that you hang on your body. Look at the ravens, free and unfettered, not tied down to a job description, carefree in the care of God. And you count far more than them. Has anyone, fussing before the mirror, ever gotten taller by as much as an inch? Or ever seen the wrinkles just disappear? If fussing can't do that, then why fuss at all? Walk into the fields, look at the wildflowers. They don't fuss with their appearance. But have you ever seen a color and a design more beautiful than what they display? The 10 best dressed men and women in the country look shabby alongside of them. And if God gives such attention to the wildflowers, most of them never even seen by anyone else, don't you think that God will attend to you, take pride in you, do the very best for you? What I'm trying to get you to do here is to relax and not be so preoccupied with getting so that you can respond to God's giving. Steep yourself in God reality, God initiative, God provisions. You will find all your everyday human concerns will be met. Don't be afraid of missing out. The Father wants to give you the very kingdom itself. What he's saying, what he's asking us to begin to shift so that we can see this and experience this in our own lives, that if we place our attention, our faith, our trust in the one true source, in this God energy of abundance, then the flow is a natural result. Abundance is your natural state of being. Abundance is my natural state of being. All right, I'm going to ask you. And if you're at home, just say it with us. Doesn't matter if anyone else in the room. Say it with me. Abundance is my natural state of being. Let's do it together. Abundance is my natural state of being. Can you feel it? Not just say it, but to begin to let that really resonate within you. To steep ourselves in God reality, to steep ourselves in what we're talking about here requires a commitment. You know, normally when you take this or any other prosperity class that often get offered in churches, you know, one of the components is they ask you to tithe, which tithing in itself means 10%, to give of your treasure. They also ask you to tithe of your time, and the time is the amount of time that you would give to your own spiritual life. Oftentimes they'll ask for 4 hours of that a week, based on a 40-hour week with 10%, that you would give at least 10% to your own spiritual nourishment and expansion and growth. And then you would also give 10% in this, or 4 hours, of your talents, to give it to the world, to volunteer. The first class I ever took when I came to the Unity Church was the 4T Prosperity, and I was willing to do this experiment for the duration of the class, and now 20-some plus later, I live from this place. I live from this commitment to give to life, not only of my treasure, but of my time and of my talents. And I know in these last 20 years that I have been blessed by it, and I know the world has been blessed by it. So I'm not asking you to do that. I know some of you might already kind of be in that practice already, but I'm asking you to see where you currently are right now. How do you give in these different areas of your life? And see if there's a commitment that you're willing to make for the next 30 days. See if you can stretch beyond what you give, whether you give it here or you give it to some other organization that you want to see viable. I always want to give to something that I want to see more of, that I want to see continue, that I want to see, and I believe blesses and adds more of God's good to the world. So wherever that might be, how much, and could you stretch a little bit beyond that? How much right now do you typically spend on your own spiritual life each day, each week? If you're not doing anything, then I'm going to ask you to commit to do a little, to see if you can't do 15 minutes a day. And just make a commitment, but you have to do it. It's beyond just making the commitment. Then you have to, for the next 30 days, say, for 15 minutes, I'm going to do something that will help nourish me spiritually, whether that's reading a book, whether that's listening to a course, whether that's showing up for church, whatever it might be, taking an extra class. But I'm going to commit to doing some portion of my day or week to my own spiritual journey. And also, how much do I give of my talents? How much do I give back to the world in my time and my talents? And just see. If you're already given a lot, then maybe you're good where you're at, but maybe you might be able to stretch just a little bit more. Because growth and evolution are part of this divine plan. We're always being asked to stretch a little further. We may think we get to that place, and then, at least in my experience, Spirit comes in and says, oh, but there's more. There's so much more, if you'll just be willing to step into it. Since the beginning of time, Spirit has been unfolding into greater and greater expression. And we are one of the divine vehicles in which God can express, in which we can be the voice and the hands and the heart and the eyes of that divinity. And because Spirit is the essence of everything that exists, everything in the universe, there is this constant unfoldment happening, this higher order, this new state of being. Spirit is always joyously exploring the infinite possibilities by means of creation, and we are part of that creative process. In a sense, God has provided the means. God has provided, hopefully, the motivation. to engage in life in this way for our own growth, for our own evolution. But the details of how that looks is up to us. And the vision that we have is oftentimes the highest potential. The vision that we have tells that God energy how we want to see that unfold in our life. It is composed of clear mental images, of positive beliefs, of strong affirmative feelings. Remember, it's our thinking and our feeling combined that determine how we get to experience life. Living from a clear vision is one of those keys to the kingdom. Not just allowing everything like, I don't know, and it'll just happen the way it happens, but being a co-creator with our own vision allows us to tap in to those fields of infinite possibilities. The kingdom of God, the field of possibilities in which you live, has already been given to you. It's already here. You already have the tools that you need to make it happen. You just need to choose how you want that to happen. And we either create by default or we create with purpose. We're always creating something. So we have the potential and we have the responsibility, if we're on this path, to create from the highest vision that we can hold for ourselves. Because the simple truth is that you will never rise higher than the vision that you hold for your lives. We will never rise higher than the vision that we hold for our lives. If we say, well, the most money I could ever make in my lifetime would be $100K, well, guess what? That's the vision you hold, and that's the vision that the universe is going to support you in creating. If you say, well, I've got this chronic disease and it's never going to go away, well, guess what? That is what the universe will support you in experiencing. So part of our work as we're accessing the keys to the kingdom is to be clear about the vision. And that's what we're going to do in our meditation time today. We're going to get started, and I would invite you to put this to the test and see if there's something that you believe could happen in the next 30 days that would enhance the flow of good in your life. And you believe it's possible it could happen. You're not sure how it could happen, but you believe it's possible it could happen. And begin to get that feeling of what that would mean. So if that thing happened, would that mean that you would have a greater feeling of prosperity in your life? Would you feel a greater sense of wholeness in your life? Would you feel more security? Whatever, because there's always a feeling underneath it. It's not just about having the thing or having a certain experience. It's about what we believe we'll be able to experience as we navigate life as a result of it. So if you need a little piece of paper, once again, you can raise your hand, and then we're going to move into, there's going to just be a song. And this song is just here to help you open your heart. Because whenever we do a vision, we want to do it from our heart, not from our head. Our head is just going to lead us to whatever the personal mind thinks it needs to meet its needs. Our heart will tell us what we are seeking so that we can live from that place of God's peace and joy and love that is the very kingdom of heaven. So as we begin, I just invite you to get comfortable where you are and take maybe the first minute of this song and allow its words to begin to open your mind and heart, to bring you to that place of infinite possibilities. And then as a vision comes into your mind, as it wells up in your feeling nature, begin to just write down what that vision looks like, what you would feel like as a result of that. And then I invite you to write at the very end of this or something greater. Because sometimes God's vision for you of how this can unfold is much greater than you could have ever imagined.
sacred love, God, sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place, such a holy place. You are blessed peace, blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace, God, blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place, such a holy place. You are deepest joy, deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy, God, deepest joy is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Show the way, God, show the way.
And whenever you're ready, you can just bring your attention back here and know that this is part of the work that you can do as part of your commitment to your own spiritual journey that you're going to be now giving to your day-to-day life. And once you get this vision, and you can do one on all areas of your life, I kind of gave you some different topics, and you might want to take the time to vision about what that would look like for your health, for your relationships, for your own personal growth, for the flow of financial good through your life, all of the different aspects of life. The greater the vision that you hold opens the realm of infinite possibilities. But know this, that moving into this divine flow, living from this divine flow, does require commitment, and it requires a vision of where you want to move into. There are no shortcuts, or I wish I could just, affirm a few times, and then it would just unfold. But this is a process in which we have to begin to shift, to release, and that's part of the work that we'll be doing this month. Those old beliefs that we might be holding on to, those things that have informed us that life is filled with lack and limitation, and that there isn't enough to go around, and that I better hold on tightly to whatever good comes into my life because it may not come again. So you need this sense of commitment, and you need this willingness, this personal discipline to put this into practice in your life. These keys will open the door to this realm, to this kingdom that Jesus talked about, when we're willing and able to put it into action in our own lives. And if at first you don't succeed, then you try again. And if that vision that you were holding doesn't quite show up in the way that you had hoped it would, then you vision again. You do the work, and I guarantee you, if you put in the work, you will see definite changes. Maybe the outer world will not what's the right word I was looking for? Magically change around you. But your experience, your energy will be different. You will show up differently. Be bold. Be flexible. I always like to say be flexible because, sometimes if you get really, really specific, it's hard. It may take a little longer for the universe to get all those pieces into place so that they can show up in the right way at the right time. And I always encourage people to always say this or something greater, because I'll tell you what, we limit ourselves, and God's vision for us is so much grander than we can even tap into. So I always leave room. Let that space open up, because sometimes the way I thought it should unfold and the way it did unfold was beyond anything I could have ever dreamed. Bless you as you do this work. Bless us as we move into this opportunity to live from the kingdom of God. All right. Well, it is our opportunity now to share of our financial good with this ministry. We are so blessed, and we just see that flow of abundance moving in and through this community so that all that is ours to do is done with ease and with grace. In just a moment here, the ushers are going to invite you up row by row, and in the large basket if you want to place your gift, or you can take one of the little cards if you give automatically through our committed givers program, or just add your hand and that energy, feel it flowing in and through your life and in the life of this community. And then, because we want to be in that flow of giving and receiving, there's an affirmation. These are new prosperity affirmations to bless you this week. And those of you who are watching via the live stream, you can go to centerofunity.org. There's a give page there, and you will also find affirmations. If you scroll down, just select the picture that speaks to you, and you'll be gifted with an affirmation for you to hold as you move through your week. So let us take what we offer today and the energy of that into our hands and into our hearts and bless it together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. Why don't we all stand up together and let's do our peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And so as we go into this week, unlocking the keys to our own kingdom, we go, knowing our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.